Welcome to the NeverFap Deluxe podcast. My name is Julius. I'm the guy who will be talking to you today, just like a normal conversation with a family member, except talking about porn addiction. Obviously, it's something you want to tell mum, dad, granddad, and grandmother. Grandmother, yes. I'm going to stop talking because it's not making any sense. But just pretend that, it's like I'm in your living room right now, touching your hair, cradling you, telling you that everything is going to be okay. Because it will be okay. You just got to listen to the podcast, give me some money, get real desperate, you know what I mean? I apologize for that intro. And you may be wondering, well, what is this podcast about? Well, let me tell you, young stranger, it's a podcast about overcoming porn addiction. So if you've got a porn addiction or, you kind of want to develop one, well, then you've come to the right place. Just basically avoid everything I'm saying. Or maybe, this is like reverse psychology, so I'm telling you things that you should not do but should do. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. So I run a website called NeverFap Deluxe, as you could probably tell from the podcast name, which aims to help people suffering from porn addiction, much like the podcast. I also run a Discord channel, which is great. It's been growing like bananas, selling like hotcakes. So we have an accountability program there to help porn addicts like yourself get advice, information, as well as commit to daily awareness and meditation practices. We've got this accountability channel. It tracks you. I built this bot. I've spent all this time and no money, but a lot of time building it, and it's been great. So if you want to get on board, head on down to the Google and just type in NeverFap Deluxe. And yeah, we do all sorts of things. We've got a subreddit. If you like to support the podcast, I've got a Patreon as well. But yeah, just Google it. Go crazy. Don't look up, raunchy images of women or men if that's your thing. But instead, help your porn addiction, help me, and give me a house. Because I need a place to live. And I love houses. Houses are great. Obviously, you've got insulation, windows, one of my favorite parts of the house. And I'm sorry for ruining your evening or day or night. Maybe you already were ruined. Maybe you just relapsed and you're like, I just need to hear some weird guy tell me about Windows. Well, you've come to the right place, as I've repeated, probably on multiple times. So today we're going to be talking about awareness. What is awareness? Why is awareness important? Well, I'm telling you it's important because I'm going to spend the next 40 or so minutes talking about it. Who knows? Maybe this could go on for 5 hours. I don't know because I haven't recorded it yet. But hopefully it goes for 40 minutes. I've got a script here. It's sort of like saying, say this then, and then it'll be good. So what is awareness? That's what we're going to be talking about. What are the ways we can practice awareness? Often a big thing that people may not understand. Well, I'm going to explain it to you today. Basically, if you're a bit confused about awareness or you think it's a bit hocus pocus, then you've come to the right place. Obviously not your final destination. This isn't sort of like hell or heaven where you permanently reside in what seems to be like a bright villa, never rains. No, this is just one step in your journey. It's episode 4. Get excited, baby, because yes, awareness is super important. If you're not aware, then essentially you're neglecting the most powerful thing you have, which is your ability to consciously act. An amazing ability. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about how it's relevant, what you can do about it. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, as you can tell, I turned into a frog then, but we're all frog friendly here on NeverFap Deluxe. We love frogs. Not eating them. Well, I love eating frogs, but I also love just frogs in general. I don't think I've seen a frog in 10 years, so I'm going to stop talking. Hey, so what we usually do on the podcast is before we get into the gist of things, I get down and dirty, take my shirt off, we have a bit of a mental health update because really what this is about is mental health, and I want to talk about mental health, why it's important, in particular my mental health over the past 2 weeks, because this is a fortnightly podcast. We'd love to do it weekly. Unfortunately, I don't have the time. I've got to pay the bills, man. It's so hard. So last week, it's weird. So it's been 2 weeks. The first week was kind of crap. I actually wasn't coping very well, but this last week has been incredible. So I'll talk about the crap week, then I'll talk about the great week, which has been this week. Yes, you see, good news, bad news. We're all about variety here on the show. So 2 weeks ago, apologies for that error. Due to various things happening in my life, in particular to do with family. I was feeling a bit helpless. And I guess to provide a bit of context, I actually had a bit of a falling out with my mother, the she-devil, as I used to refer her as, and still do, because I just said it then. So around 3 years ago, we had a sort of a bit of a falling out, and recently she got in contact, and so we've been talking and hanging out, and it's sort of been a bit of a drain, because prior to, obviously, well, in fact, the last 3 years, I haven't had to deal with family issues, and that's sort of why I left, because I was like, you're kind of a bitch, and I can't deal with you. And she still is a bitch, but obviously I can sort of be more myself, tell her about the drugs I take, and be the read, which is obviously a great thing. And so it's been a bit of a time sink, and that's, I guess, a bit. It's not something I'm used to. So it's like I'm having to go to like all these family events and stuff, and this is time I ordinarily would be spent working on NeverFap Deluxe, helping people out. And so I've been feeling a bit helpless because it's like I really want to work on NeverFap, but I can't. So I sort of have been feeling a bit helpless, and it was weird because it got to a point where I actually had pornographic thoughts for the first time in like months, and it was like, whoa, what is going on? Because I hadn't experienced this in such a long time, and it was scary. It was like, wow, what's happening? I'm losing control. Because I was obviously quite depressed, and I probably haven't explained it very well. It's just like, oh, you're seeing mum again, you're really depressed. There were sort of a few things that happened, but anyway, so it got to a point of getting really depressed and, thinking about porn. So essentially what I did is I thought, you know what, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to actually meditate. I'm going to calm down, and here's what happened. So I was like, okay, this is not okay. So I decided to meditate for like 10, 15 minutes. I calmed down, and it's interesting because in that moment, I was actually able to slow things down, and good perspective came from that. I actually was able to view these obligations not as a burden, but as an opportunity. And that's really what a lot of this is about. It's about using awareness and perspective and meditation in order to actually see the good in life, because often we are forced into situations that we don't want to be in. It could be school, for example, or shitty parents, or, that kind of thing. But if you view it as an opportunity, it actually sort of changes things. And the interesting thing is that even though it changes things mentally, it doesn't actually change anything when you think about it. It's just you've now adopted a positive attitude. But that's really what life's about. It's about adopting a positive attitude and dealing with the struggle. And so, yeah, that's what happened with me. Did my meditation, felt great. So that's living proof that you can also do it. So yeah, it's about making that conscious effort to improve and better understand yourself. But now let's talk about the good week. That was the bad week. Well, actually, it ended well, so it wasn't so bad after all. But good week, man, I have been killing it. I've been working on NeverFap Deluxe like a mad dog. Heaps of people have been coming to the website. The Discord has exploded. It's been incredible. A lot of people have joined. And not just that, but I've been working on the bot. We've got this bot. I built the bot. It's called the NeverFap Deluxe bot. It's amazing. I've put so much work into it. It tracks your accountability posts. It sends you sexual images. Okay, it doesn't do that, I promise. It doesn't do the image thing. Okay, sometimes it's been programmed, like 1 in 100 chance will send you a boob. Okay, it doesn't do that. I'm joking. I can't take this I need to take this seriously. You know what I mean? It's like people out there, they're hurting. And so here I am, providing some hope in the dark, dark world that is PMO. So this bot's great. And a lot of people have been responding a lot better because it's like people having trouble doing their accountability posts. And now they've been really keeping on board because the bot's helping them and stuff. So that's been really positive for me to see. And one thing I've noticed, and it's weird, I've never really thought about it, but doing something like NeverFap Deluxe has actually given me an incredible amount of purpose. I always want to work on it. I always want to help people, and it's just amazing seeing others actually improve and learn new things and be like, wow, I never knew that, which is really empowering for me. But also it's there's a bad side to it because, as you know, the world is a global place. And often I live in Australia, for those who don't know. If you haven't if you haven't heard from my accent, then yes, I'm from Australia. But a lot of the people I talk to are from the US, from Europe, from the Ukraine. Actually, there's no one from the Ukraine. I just wanted to say the country Ukraine. Hello, Ukrainians. Anyone listening? How's the civil war going? Are you dead? I'm going to stop talking. That's not true. I'm going to stop saying I'm going to stop talking because I know that I'm consciously going to keep talking. It's more just like a false sense of hope for the audience. I've also been struggling to sleep because of this sort of purpose thing. Because it's like, man, I just want to wake up and help people. So learning, definitely that's what I'm going to be focusing on over the next couple of weeks. Is just learning to detach and just let the thing run itself. You know, there are people in the Discord channel who can help other people. You know, I don't have to be there to be Daddy Reed, as no one calls me. Although it would be nice, you know, someone to come out there and be like, hey, Daddy Reed, what's up, bro? And then me being like, don't talk to your father like that. That's weird. Go home. So that was my spiel. I hope you like the spiel. We all like a good spiel. Good spiel. Spiel. But let's get to the meat of the topic. Unless if you're vegan, then let's get to the artificial soy cheese, which a lot of people have been raving about. I know I'm a big fan of soy cheese. Also a big fan of relapsing. Okay, that was a joke. Not a big fan of relapsing. Please don't do it. Today we're going to be talking about awareness. And what better place to start than talk about what awareness isn't. And to I guess, give a bit of an intro, even though we've had like 10 minutes of intro. But to give a better intro, we need to dispel some of the myths behind awareness. That's right, kids. Watch out. The boogie monster's here. No, because the boogie monster's a myth. And much like some of the myths behind awareness, we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty. I will be cleaning my fingernails while I do this. The nitty-gritty. Makes no sense. So one of the first things that people usually say in regards to awareness is like, whoa, dude, aren't I like already aware? Because it's like I can see, you know, I can obviously feel myself when I'm touching myself. I can hear. Like, it's like I'm aware, right? Like I'm here right now. I'm listening to the podcast. I'm aware. Well, while this is sort of true, I guess it's not true from the perspective of what we're trying to achieve here with awareness. And this is arguably the biggest misconception that people have about awareness, because awareness is so much more than just being conscious. It's about being actively conscious, not just conscious, but, you know, using your mind, not just having a mind, because that's really the difference. I guess to put things in perspective, it would be like saying, you know, I've kicked a football, therefore I'm, you know, a professional football player, or I've cooked a meal before, therefore I'm a professional chef. Awareness is sort of a similar concept. It's like just because we are conscious doesn't mean that we have effective control over our mind. And that's really what we're trying to get at, is that by being aware, and not just aware, but like fully aware, what that allows us is to have effective control over our mind, because we're constantly on top of things. You know, we're probably aware that we're addicted to porn, but that doesn't mean we know anything about how to actually overcome it. And particularly, it doesn't mean that we are able to remain highly conscious and remain aware. And that really is what we're focusing on, is remaining aware. Because it's like you can be aware, but if you're not remaining aware, then guess what happens? It's like you're aware for a moment, and then bam, you get sidetracked, and then bam, you've lost balance, and then bam, you find yourself relapsing. Don't be that guy, or girl, or girl, or guy, or girl, or girl, or guy, or guy. And that's really what we're aiming towards. Not only developing the ability to retain focus and remain calm in everyday situations, you know, as well as during meditation, but able to retain focus and remain calm when your mind is racing and begging you to tug your little pecker till you drop. Please don't touch your pecker, and please don't call it a pecker. That's just weird. Well, it's not weird. I used the word like 3 times then. Possibly 2. I don't remember. Because basically, if you can't do that, if you can't remain aware, you're not going to be able to control your urges. And you'll lose. You'll lose. No one wants to be a loser. I'm a loser, obviously. But that's really what it's about. So, in summary, don't be that guy who thinks awareness is some weird hippie bullshit, because I promise you it's not. It's about being and remaining highly conscious, highly aware, as opposed to just being aware. Because everyone's just aware, but unless if you consciously think about it and enact it, nothing will change. So, moving on. Thank you. I know I'm a genius. Yes. This is ridiculous. What am I doing? Who am I? Why, you know, you're still listening to this. You realize you're giving me attention, right? This is time that you could spend, you know, playing a video game, or, hitting on some lonely girl or guy or girl or guy. So I gotta stop doing that. It's hilarious from my perspective, but you're probably like, man, this guy's he just keeps talking. So let's talk about what is awareness and what does awareness allow us to do. So let's talk a bit about how you can relate to awareness, and I guess fully understand what it's about. I've probably given a really brief introduction, but now we're going to go into the bowels of heaven or hell or something. So ultimately, awareness is your ability to remain conscious. And as I've said before, that remain part is crucial, absolutely crucial. If you can't remain aware, well, then you may as well not be aware at all, because it's like saying, well, I was on a diet for like 3 weeks and then I had like KFC for just an entire day. That's not how it works. You need to remain aware. Otherwise, you're not doing yourself a favor. Now, the interesting thing when we get sort of deeper into explaining awareness is that it's equally a state of mind as it is a feeling. And I think the hard thing about awareness, or getting the message across about awareness, is that if you describe what it is, it like doesn't relate to people, because it's like describing what like a car is, but if you've never been in a car or you've never had a need for a car, it's like, what are you talking about? But if you talk about what it feels like, then it doesn't really explain how you get there. It's like saying, this is what sadness feels like. Don't be sad. But if you've never been sad before, it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So it's sort of funny to think about it like that way. So while I can describe what awareness is, actual awareness, that is the feeling of awareness, is, I suppose, a very individual thing. And, as I've said before, it's sort of like trying to describe happiness or sadness to someone. Emotions are largely attached to events and the moments in our lives. So although I can tell you what it is, it won't make sense straight away. And this is why I place such a huge, huge emphasis on the process and trusting the process. Because when you're really depressed or, you're just not functioning well, things aren't going to make sense for ages, like a month, no joke. Few weeks maybe. No, definitely a month. Things just aren't going to make sense because your emotions are going to be out of whack. You're not going to be feeling like yourself, but that's okay because it's about pushing through, trusting the process, and really sticking with it. It's sort of like going to the gym. It's like you don't see results until like 6 months later. Like, yeah, you feel better and stuff, but you physically sort of look the same, and you may not even notice that you've gained strength in like a month, but that's why it takes time. If you stick at it, you'll get better. Anyway, digressing. So, to answer the question again, what is awareness? If I had to describe awareness in, I guess, different terms, I would say that it's your capacity for conscious awareness, or capacity for consciousness. So when we talk about awareness, we're not just talking now about you being conscious. We're talking about what awareness means in the context of your porn addiction and your mental health. So essentially, awareness is your capacity for conscious awareness. Sorry. That makes no sense. I'll explain that again. So it's like conscious awareness is awareness. Yes. I think that made sense. I hope that made sense. All right. You just pretend like it made sense. So what does this mean? Well, let's think about in terms of when we're having an urge or, like an emotional reaction. Often emotional reaction is what causes us to have an urge. Often we don't even notice that we've had a reaction. It's sort of like we just go straight to the urge. But of course, something to talk about in a different episode. Let's say, for example, let's say someone insults you, that someone who doesn't really like you puts you down, puts your knickers in a knot. Someone like that person. Now, in that moment when you've been offended, and I'm sure we've all been there, someone said something like, oh, you're shit in bed. Or, okay, no one said that to me personally. That's a lie. Almost everyone I've slept with, including myself. No, that's not true. That's it. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to calm down because it's like, I had 10 jokes in my head and I was like, it's not working out. So someone takes, you take offense because someone's offended you. And then we stew and then we just feel terrible for hours because we're angry or upset or, however you like to express your dark side, like Batman with a porn addiction, where is he? That was from one of the Batman movies. Thank you. I'm a professional voice actor, as you can tell. Now, so we have this reaction, and, it's a purely automatic response. It's an automatic reaction, and we don't even realize it's happening. It's like we just walk into this situation and bam, we just feel terrible. We feel sad. We're angry. Now, this is what happens in most cases. But With a high level of conscious awareness, we can not only see this happening in real time, but we can stop it from happening as well. Because we see it happening, it's like, oh man, this is not good, and then we stop it. And the way we do that is we sort of like, we track what happens. So it's never just like, bam, I'm sad. It's like, we make a judgment. We go, oh wow, that person, he said something really bad, and then that like links with a belief. And so it's like there's all these like these chain of events that happen in your head that we don't realize because we've been doing it for so long. For example, one common hidden belief is that like, oh, I'm not good enough. So even when someone says something like, hey man, you're like really pretty, I love your t-shirt, what happens is that we don't actually hear those words. What happens is that a belief gets triggered, and instead we go, oh shit, I'm not good enough. And what the person's saying is actually a lie. Therefore, I should feel bad. So yeah, there's this whole dynamic about how these reactions work. Of course, I'll talk about that in a different episode. Today we're talking about awareness. So awareness essentially allows you to track down that path, and we can look at the steps and evaluate, and we can actually physically stop ourselves from heading down that path. Like I said earlier in my mental health report, when I was meditating, I was actually able to slow down and be aware of what's happening, and use that as an opportunity to actually view those challenges as an opportunity. And this is huge. I mean, it's like being Superman with PMO powers. I don't know, it'd be anti-PMO powers, yeah. So yeah, it's like being Superman, so it's super awesome because you can actually just stop what's happening, and it's just incredible. And that's basically what awareness allows us to do. It allows us to have control over our feelings and emotions, because the truth is that our emotions and feelings, as I talked about in previous episodes, they're just signals. That's what I talked about in episode 3. So if you want to learn about if you want to learn more about emotions and that kind of thing, listen to that. But yeah, they're just signals. They're just trying to tell you stuff, but that doesn't mean we have to take it personally. That doesn't mean we have to react to them. We just need to calm down, slow down, understand that they're just emotions, and that they're trying to help you. Obviously, when you're addicted, they're not trying to help you, but that's also another layer of complexity that you'd understand if you were fully aware and fully conscious of what's happening. So yeah, that's basically sort of what awareness is about. Now, I talk a lot about conscious awareness because ultimately awareness is conscious by definition, and I really want to keep sort of like drilling that into your little noggin. Your little noggy. Hey, noggy. How you... Oh, noggy. There's a word that I don't think I've ever used, but that's cool because you get what I mean. I'm talking about the brain, obviously, your little noggin. And yeah, that's essentially, awareness is a very conscious process. And I've said it like 1,000 times before, probably very poorly as well. I apologize. I don't know why you're still listening. It's been like 20 minutes and you're probably like, oh, this guy, he's terrible. He's terrible. I wouldn't even recommend him to, that guy who I recommend things to. But that's cool. I respect your decision. So yeah, it is a highly conscious process because, a lot of people tend to treat meditation as if it's this thing you do, and then you sort of like, oh, I did my 10 minutes of meditation, and then bam, I'm just going to like neglect everything for the rest of the day. Going to smoke, going to drink, going to beat my wife. Don't beat your wife. Not cool. When really, that's not how it works. So yes, meditation is there designed to help you with your awareness, but what's really important, and more important than meditation, is how you use it to remain aware throughout the day. So just because you're highly aware for 10 minutes doesn't mean you can be like, blah, 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 gonna go crazy now. No. What it means is that you now have a greater ability to be aware throughout the day and really help you catch these emotional reactions, prevent them from happening, and in particular urges. Break urges down. Meditation's a great way to, if you've got an urge, meditate for a bit. Bam, it's gone. He's gone, sucker. That was my African American impression. I hope you enjoyed it. And that will be $10. So yeah, it's an active effort. Not to mention during meditation. A lot of people think, oh, meditation's this thing where you just like sit there and swallow. Please don't sit there and swallow. At least stand up. Have some respect. I'm such a terrible influence. Such a terrible influence. So yeah, meditation's actually also a very conscious effort. You have to consciously remain relaxed. And I know it sounds a bit weird, but you do have to be conscious when meditating and really actually relax and get into the spirit of things. Because I know a lot of people just sort of like, yeah, I meditated for 40 hours And, when really they were just sort of sitting there, not really enacting or consciously engaging with the process, which is really important. Something I'll talk about in another episode, how to meditate, and all that shebang. So yes, meditation is a very high focus activity. Of course, focus is another topic, which is something that people often confuse with. For example, people think that focus is about like sitting there, getting really tense and angry. No, focus is actually the opposite. Focus is a byproduct of letting go. So by letting go, you actually focus easier. A lot of people don't know that. But yes, I will talk about it in another episode. What was that? But of course, hilariously, yeah. So don't battle your demons. You just got to relax. Because when you're calm, you're truly calm, well, that's when you're fully conscious. And that's when meditation becomes truly effortless. And that's really what we're focusing on. So yes, that's one thing I've talked about. How do you practicing awareness? Largely how I personally do it, as I've sort of talked about, is through meditation. It's my daily, as I like to call it. Have my daily. That's not true. I've never called it that. But we should start calling it. I had my daily today. Could mean anything. It could mean I relapsed. Could mean I meditated. But now you know it means I meditated. So yeah, I meditate daily, 10 minutes a day. You've probably heard me say it like a million times before. I do my 10 minutes. But the way I practice this meditation is via observation of your senses, and it's the easiest way to develop your capacity for conscious awareness. Like seriously, I've done all number of things. I've done like awareness exercises, and yes, awareness exercises are great, but meditation is sort of your bread and butter, you know what I mean? It's the thing you should be doing every day, and it just makes life so much easier, especially in terms of maintaining balance, which is a huge thing. Obviously, I'm like the least balanced person you've ever heard over the past however long you've been listening to this. But with meditation, you can be centered. As you can tell right now, I'm a lot more centered because I'm sitting up and I'm possibly meditating mid-episode. Oh, sneaky ninja. That's not true. I don't know how. There's a challenge. Meditate during an entire episode. I would make about 0 seconds. But of course, meditation's not the only thing you can do. There's obviously a heap of different things. As I said, playing around with awareness exercises is a great supplementary thing you can do. And in fact, there's two I want to sort of talk about that are on the website if you look up the NeverFap Deluxe practices. And the first one is slowing down time. And this is such a big one that it's sort of interesting. I sort of discovered it recently. But essentially what you do is you pretend as if time just sort of slowed down, like everything is moving slow. Yeah, everything's moving slower. So that was probably creepy. I'm sorry. This is not a horror podcast. This is a podcast about helping young children, particularly vulnerable children, who we like to kick down. No one's getting kicked down. So yeah, it's about slowing things down, and this is really good because often you'll find yourself, in public, for example, and you'll be pacing, and you're like, man, I need to get to my destination. What you do is you actually slow down physically, and it just works. It works brilliantly. Something you can do, especially if you're having an urge, slow things down, move slower. Sounds silly, but it tricks the brain. Well, it doesn't trick the brain. It's sort of, by literally practicing slowing down, you actually slow down, is how it works. So manipulating time in those various ways. And that's called slow down time, I think, on the website. I'll have to check. Yes, thank you. Oh, man. Yes, so that's the first one. And the second one that I do, which is super helpful, like really, really helpful, is from the moment you wake up, well, I wake up, I don't know if you're doing it, the moment I wake up, I tell myself that I'm aware. And you don't even have to tell yourself, you just have to consciously engage with your mind and be like, okay, I've woken up, I'm aware. Because it's interesting, we don't do that. And it's often even, we don't really think about awareness, even though we are aware. But the idea is that you actually need to start thinking about it. And it's really powerful because you don't realize that you're not thinking about something until you start thinking about it. And it's like, yeah, we do get through our day being aware, as I've sort of said, where it's like we think we're aware, but because we're not consciously thinking about awareness, it's not like that. But if you make a concerted effort to actually, throughout the day at certain points, be like, oh, I'm on the toilet, or I'm at work, or I'm currently killing someone. Don't kill someone. Unless if it's an ex, then it's totally fine. I'll back you. I'll be in court. I'll be like, yeah, I told him to do it. Please don't do it. I want to keep doing the show. I don't want to be in jail. I mean, I'll probably be PMOing every day in jail with people hitting me and stuff. So yeah, what I do is I wake up, and literally from the very moment you wake up, you consciously engage. And one thing you notice is that the moment you do that, from the moment you wake up, is like your brain, it just clears itself. It's just, it's cathartic. It's absolutely incredible. So that's one thing I do. And sort of comes back to what I was saying before. It's like I can just sort of describe these things and, explain what it feels like. But until you start doing it, it's really hard to sort of get that message, or for you to understand what it's like, But that's cool, We all start in a different place. In addition, I really want to also iterate that developing awareness truly is a matter of practice. And that the more you practice it, the easier you will get. So the more that you consciously engage with your mind, the more that you try and be aware throughout the day. And that's really all it is just remaining aware, so that you're therefore remaining in balance and remaining consciously aware of your actions, so that okay, you know what? I'm not going to Google images of women because I know that leads to relapse. Stuff like that. The more you do that, the easier it will get. And that's literally all it is. It's practice, practice, practice. First rule of NeverFap, practice, practice, practice. Second rule of NeverFap, practice, practice, practice. Third rule, as I'm sure you can guess, is donate on the Patreon. That's right. You thought I was going to say practice, 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 but I didn't. I got you, buddy. Sucker punched you. As you can tell, I'm Australian. And Australians aren't, we're not a good bunch. We're a land of convicts. A land of PMOing. I'm pretty sure Australia invented PMOing back in 1785 when we were first founded. I actually have no idea when we were founded. As you can tell, I know nothing about this great country that I'm from. But yes, practice. And there's a few tips here that I'd like to share with the audience today. I mean, that's if you're worthy of those tips. And, I don't think you've proven yourself. So, no, what is wrong with me? I've always thought, is there something wrong with me? But then I realized there is. So then I stopped questioning it. So yes, one thing that people struggle with is getting into that sort of state of awareness in the first place. And in particular, I see this a lot with meditation, because what happens is that people start meditating and then they get stressed and oh man, I'm not meditating right. My thoughts are all over the place. What's going on? So that happens a lot. And here's a great bit of advice that I do, and it really helps, is before you actually start that 10-minute timer, because I use a timer on my phone to track my meditation, before you do that, what you should be doing is actually just premeditating. So getting really calm and into that headspace and then starting your 10 minutes, because I know it happens to us all where it's we get stressed, oh, I'm not meditating right, and then that creates further stress, and it's this vicious cycle. Well, basically by calming down beforehand, we sort of get into the mood, and it makes it a lot smoother. So that's one thing I do. It's one thing you can do now, and I hope that is something that you do. I don't know why I do this show. That's not true. I know why. Because I love you. I love you. So that was the first tip. Second tip is that we can... What's the second tip? I'm looking at this piece of paper. It's actually a phone. I lied. I outright lied to you. And there's a second tip here. But I have no idea what it is or where it is. Is there a second tip? Blah, blah, blah. So 10 minutes before, yep, talked about that. Because, we get stressed about the timer, blah, blah, blah. What's this thing here? Another thing we can do is practice awareness in everyday situations. And it's really important that we do this because there are so many opportunities for you to practice awareness. And often they're really good opportunities. So, for example, during sex, I'm joking, not during sex. During sex, focus on the partner, the person you love, or maybe don't love. I don't know if it's hate sex. Pity sex. I get a lot of that pity sex. So no, don't do that. Don't do that during sex. But for example, I often meditate when I'm walking to the train station. I obviously work because no one's giving me any money for this, which is cool. It's cool. But yeah, so it's a 15-minute walk to the station, and I use that as an opportunity to meditate and remain aware. And you're probably thinking, well, you're like walking and stuff like that. That's a terrible time to meditate because you're like moving, you're sweaty. Obviously, I'm like all sweaty and hot in my singlet. No, that's not true. I wear work attire to go to work because I'm a good person. Not that it makes you a good person to wear work attire. But yeah, it's a great opportunity because, as I've sort of said, comes down to focusing on your senses, and you don't actually need to be sitting to do that. And it's a really good opportunity because as I'm walking, there's sort of the sound of cars, and that's a really good exercise that you can do. Take note of the sound of cars driving by and notice the differences, because that's really what you're doing. You're paying attention to your senses. It's not about, necessarily focusing on what you're looking at or you're breathing. Certainly there are things that you can focus on, but there's so many other things that you can focus on. And really what it's doing is training your senses. So obviously listening to cars going by is training your hearing, your ability to sense that way. Focusing on something on the wall, for example, and focusing on one point is focusing your vision. And there's so many different ways you can focus. But yeah, that car one is really good. It's a really great way to develop that skill, especially when you're walking and you're not sitting at home playing PlayStation or receiving yummy meals from Mum. Hi, Mum. How you going? I hope you enjoyed last night. That was me licking my lips sexually. Hopefully you didn't relapse because of that. But that's cool. We're all about relapse on the show. That's not true. That's not true. I keep saying it, but it's not true. It's not true. Don't do that. Stop touching. Hey, stop touching it. Not cool, man. Not cool. So yeah, awareness is important. A lot of us are coming from a very limited place of conscious awareness. And so practicing as much as possible is really the best thing you can do. And that's all it is. You practice, and there's a heap of exercises on the website, which have name practices, which I don't know if that makes sense, because exercises just didn't look good from a font perspective. So I was like, call them practices. And here we are in the future, full of regret. So yes, that's today's episode. I hope you learnt a bit more about awareness. I hope that you have a greater understanding of me, the brand, and awareness. So yeah, thank you for listening. Sorry if it's been hectic. Sorry if some of it didn't make sense. The main takeaway is that you have to practice conscious awareness, and that awareness is conscious. And if you don't do that, well, you will die. It's a proven fact. I've seen people drop on the street, PMOing, post-relapse. Don't be that guy. Or girl. Oh, God, I'm not going to do that thing again. I love doing it. It's just so good. I don't actually know what it feels like to have someone do the guy-girl routine. Of course, invented here on the show. Thank you. I know, I'm the applause is amazing. Thank you. I know you're all clapping at home or on the bus, where you should be practicing awareness. You fool. What are you doing? Yes. So if you've got any comments or questions, please direct them to the website, www.neverfapdeluxe.com. And if you'd like to have sex with me, well, I'm totally down for that. I'm literally lying down on the floor with my clothes off, waiting for that young, charming, handsome man to sweep me off my feet and absolutely drown me in cum. So if you'd like to be that guy, well, I must say, it's too late. I've already relapsed and I'm not feeling it anymore. Like you've relapsed and you're like, whatever. Oh, and another thing, I'm nearly coming up to 6 months. 6 months PMO free. How awesome is that? So yeah, send your questions. If you'd like to join the discussion, check out the Discord channel. Obviously, I've talked about the accountability program. It's great. It's a great opportunity to express yourself. And yeah, so enjoy your night, day, or evening. And I'll see you here in a fortnight. Thank you for listening to the NeverFap Deluxe podcast.